Okay, so here's the rock solo. When the chord progression is basically over your A chord, an A power chord. We end up going to the 5 chord, which is an E, but otherwise we're basically just hanging out on A. So the whole time, anything pentatonic works. You've got major, you've got minor, and all those notes are going to work. So let's go through what I have here. We've got a little intro thing that the rhythm guitar and the bass guitar are doing at the same time, where we're sliding in to position 1 of minor, and then with that hammer on. So sliding into that first note, sometimes people are like, well, where do I start my slide? And they want to know, I got to start on the 5th fret and then I slide in. Something like that. Usually if I write things out and I just have like the slide mark, which is just a kind of a line going up to the whatever note you're going to, if it doesn't say specifically 5/7, it really doesn't matter where you start as long as you hit the note that you're going for. You don't want to like overshoot it. So you can start anywhere you want that's comfortable. Just make sure you end where you're supposed to. So right on the 7th fret. And then we've got that hammer on. We're going to have another hammer on from the minor 3rd to the major 3rd. And then we just walk down. And we slide off there. And again, when you get done with that slide, it's all about this hand muting everything. And boom, so it's quiet right away. So you don't want to, you don't want to slide off and then have a bunch of noise going on. So always be conscious of that hand. So let's listen to that when we kind of get into it here. So here's the line. Okay, so after that line, we've got this bend going on. And you can kind of articulate however you want it. The way I'm doing it here is I'm really being staccato with those notes, which means short. So I'm not letting them run into each other. It's real. And I'm really kind of digging in with that pick, so you can get right in there on those strings. As opposed to like a light kind of, so that's just this is the way I played it, and you can try start going that way, or if you feel like you like it a little more legato, it's all up to you. These are just the starting points for your solo. So we've got just a regular bend, and again, this one doesn't come down. So when we do that, mute, bring the bend down. Okay, let's move on from there. Okay, so let's look at that. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the rock solo. I mean, a little more rock. The backing track is just guitar, bass, and drums. And we're starting off, the whole chord progression is basically A. Just an A power chord. We end up going to an E chord, and then back to A. So really just 2 chords that we're playing over. And everything pentatonic works over this. Everything minor, everything major, and in between. So as long as you stick to the notes that we've been working with in all of our positions, you're not going to play anything wrong. So it all fits, and it's all going to be good. So let's look at this, or let's listen to it. Let's listen to the solo that I laid down, and then we'll talk about a little bit about what we're doing on it. So we got the intro. We're gonna slide up and the hammer on. Now, when we slide up, a lot of people are wondering exactly like where do we start the slide. And if it doesn't say specifically like 5/ the slide sign 5 sliding into 7, you can start wherever as long as you end up on that last note, the note that you're going for. You don't want to go because that doesn't work, right? You're sliding over. So just be mindful of where you're sliding and trying to end up exactly where you're at. But as a starting point, you could just start 5 and just go, but you can start anywhere. So don't put too much thought into, I got to start in the exact right spot. Just slide into that 7, and then we've got a hammer on. Straight out of first position minor. And then we're going to go minor to major. and then walk down the minor scale and slide off. And again, when we slide off, you're going to mute with your right hand all the time. So we don't want to go and then just have noise from the guitar happening. So always muting that. And that's why we want our hand down here all the time when we talked about that earlier. So we've got, that's our hammer on, and another one. Slide off, and then we start the solo. So that's kind of a little intro that we're doing with the bass and the rhythm guitar. So let's listen to that, and then we're going to get into the solo itself and talk about that. Drums, and then boom. Okay, so that first riff starts off with a big bend. And then, again, take a look at that bend. We aren't gonna let the bend come back down. So we bend up, and then we mute, bend down, and finish off that phrase. So again, it takes a little bit of practice to get that to happen. Mute, bring down. So just be mindful of that. I mean, there's always going to be times where you bend up and come back down, but specifically on this little spot, I did that so that you are working on that kind of so you're cutting the bend off and not always, so you have more control over it when you want to do that. So also on that, it's really staccato, which means each note is short and kind of accented. I'm really digging in with the pick, as opposed to where everything's running together. You want to keep those nice and short. That's kind of how that's going. Now we're going to run into that next little lick idea. So, ba-ba-ba-ba-bum. So that's just walking up your minor pentatonic position 1 and hitting that major third of position 2. Major. All of it's picked. You might find later on after you're practicing this that you want to do, you could do hammer-ons for both of those. 5 to 7, 5 to 6, back to 7. Then we have another little run that starts off the same. And we do another slide. So we're starting on that minor third. Other than that, we're going straight up major pentatonic. So we're sliding from position 2 up into position 3. So try to visualize that as we're going through, seeing where these notes, why they're making sense with everything that we've talked about already, and seeing those shapes on the guitar. So we have that. And then a little bend, half-step bend again on that 8. Now again with that, as we're coming up the riff before, to think about finger placement, we always want to think about where we're coming from, where we're going in the next thing. So if I'm coming off of this line, and my next note is on the 8th fret, I'm not going to like totally readjust and use my 4th finger or something like that. I'm already here, and I know I'm going to kind of be in position 2 of minor, so I'm going to go right to my 1st finger and go. That's the rest of it. So always thinking about where we're landing. We're here, and I know in my head where I'm going to go next when I'm soloing. So then I'm in position 2 of minor. So I'm always thinking about that. When I play that, my 1st finger is usually on this 8th fret. Now, that bend again is a half step, so it's kind of more like, it's more just a way of playing that note, kind of, instead of just, it sounds a little cooler when you kind of, and you're kind of bending up into that major third. But again, these are not, the bend's not coming back down, so we grab it here, bring it down. And that's a good exercise just to work on that, just making sure that we're not hearing that come down. So you got that. And a quick little 9th fret in there.